Hello, hello. How is everyone doing today? So, nothing to it but to do it, I guess. Hello, everyone. I'm designing a new Rook, or a new mod Rook. This won't be anything official. It'll be my take on the perfect Rook, and to me, that is a simple little printer, and I'm gonna try to maximize everything. Minimizing the bill of materials is a big thing. Try to reduce the not necessarily the number of screws, because you don't buy individual screws, you buy packs of screws. So if I can get it to fit up with that, that would be perfect. And yeah, I've already started with a kind of a frame. Mic is really low. Alright. Sure it's not just you being really high, because I can crank mine up. So yeah, I don't have a general plan of attack right now. I have an idea in my head. I want to get it onto the screen. So yes. The big change right now is that the frame is bigger than it normally is. So it's 20 millimeters bigger, the external size. Hey, Cast and Create, use Tinkercad. Tinkercad is an excellent software. If that works for you, good on you. Keep using it. If you want some more customizing options, then this might be good for you. BattleBots are fun. Now, one of the first things I want to do is get all the essential parts done on the frame. So I have my lattice at the bottom here. This one is always, my plan will always be to adapt this frame to whatever electronics I'm going for. So I might change that later, but I have set it up so that I can easily just swap the positions of any of those bridges. I guess the first step would be to add slots so that the top and bottom frames are bolted together, not just friction fit. So I guess there's a couple of ways to do that. So I'm making a new Rook. That's pretty much what I've been doing the last couple of years, is modding Rooks. So might as well just keep going, I guess. So I'm starting off by adding this line, and it's only here, so I have a reference, so I can make one and then mirror that feature. Roberto, estimate of when it will be completed. I guess I'm trying not to do everything in one day, which is usually what I do. I'll focus on something, maybe sleep, and then focus it some more. I want to try and take my time, and ideally I would get this done in a couple of months, because I have all the parts for this. So I just need to get all the streaming done, and I want to do this as a stream because I think a lot of people have a need to see how this process is done. So yeah, if I could do this without streaming and just get it done, I would probably start building, printing and building this this weekend. But it's gonna be a couple of months at least, just because I want to do all of the work on stream. That being said, I did cheat a little bit and did a little bit of work off camera, mostly just to set kind of a base of what I'm gonna do. So right now I want to make some slots so that I can bolt the frame together, and it's not going to be anything particularly advanced, but it's going to be a simple thing. What is that? A Rook? Yes. So a Rook is a tiny, mostly printed 3D printer that I have more than I should of. And yeah, it's a really fun little printer generally. So that is pretty much all that I want for this. I just need a slot. So there's a little bit of space for this to expand. And then I'll have a bolt going through the actual frame to bolt it together. So let's start off by mirroring this feature. And by doing this in a mirror, it makes it so that if I make any changes to this first one, all the other ones will follow. So now I'm gonna need a center line. Let's get this oriented. So I hate that it's not defined, and I don't need anything particular, so I'm just defining them as equal to this first line. It's so I can not have unconstrained lines in my CAD, which is something I hate. Now I'll mirror these features over to the other side. And there we go. Then I can probably just add in the circles like that. So now I can go into extrude and then select only these parts, remove, and we have our slots. So the next would be to add in the bolts going through the frame, and I think it makes most sense to have the head of the bolt here and then a nut on this side. So I'm not doing any heat sets, and everything that screws in to something should have a nut. So I'm doing all square nuts for this build, so no hexagon nuts. They're not as good for 3D printing stuff. So let's figure out how to get this going. So I'm gonna create a sketch here. So first what I'm do is I'll project this existing face, and then I will also give myself a reference of where this circle will be in here. I guess the best way for me to do that is because I know the circumference of that, or the diameter, I should say. So I'll add in a construction line running this way, and that should be input 2, because that is the size of that hole. So now I know that I cannot get too close to this. So what I'm going to do is get as close as I can and just put in a circle. That is my bolt. So I'll make that 5 millimeters. Actually, I'll make that 5.2. Then I'll make it so that it just barely doesn't touch that one, so 0.5. And then I want to put it in the middle height-wise. So I'll just need to get a center line going here, then connect these two, and I have my location. Now I can easily go back in my sketch, make a center line. So everything I've done so far is symmetrical. Then I can use the mirror function again, mirror on that line, and I'll add in that hole. It's really that one's the only one that I need. So on this one, I'm running into an issue that I'm not sure how to solve yet, but I'll figure that out. Let's have a look at it next. So these are not being used, so I'm just gonna make them construction lines. So I'm going to do up to face remove on that one. Actually, I could do that one all the way through. That solves the other side. Now this one is a little bit more tricky. An M3 by 25 works there, or M5, sorry. So I guess I'll have to add in a square nut into there. And I'll go to the bottom, make a new sketch. I'll find my hole location, I'll grab a center line again, and then on this one I'll make a rectangle that will be the nut. So one thing I've done previously is that I've gone in and made a lot of different variables. So I have my M5 nut thickness, and I could just do that with the wrong way, of course. So if I write M5, get thickness. So Roberto, I think you're missing the point. I'm not saying importing goods. I'm saying importing CAD work. So I'm not I won't get anything from a different CAD. If I need a component, I'll have to design that component. So I'll have to look up spec sheets and dimensions and design it from scratch. So I won't be. So if I need a bearing, I won't be importing a bearing. If I need a hot end, I will not be importing a hot end. I've set my own limits that I have to design it myself. So right now I have the size of my nut and I'm able to adjust where it sits. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of a reference here. That is the end of that M5. That looks like a decent position because I need to be between that. And also, we need to try to think ahead a little bit here. So I'm going to add in, what will I be adding in? I'll be adding in some tolerance, and I've already made that also into a variable, so I can do plus in my size or my dimension. and I'll do tolerance 0.2, and I'll do the same to this one. Add in a tolerance 0.2. Now I need to figure out how far away that is. 2.5 seems reasonable. And now the next one is how far in do I put this hole? So what I'll do is I'll add in my little sketch here, because that has a little vertex. So I'll do remove up to vertex. I'll get it to the center of that hole. But that only gives me so far, so I'll have to continue my extrude. So what I'll do is I'm just gonna see how far is this. It's 10 exactly. Okay, so 10, and then plus half the nut, and then my tolerance. So I can do blind, so 10, and then plus, I'll do a bracket. My nut is 8 millimeters wide, and then plus my tolerance 0.2, and bracket. And then I have to add plus 10 on the end. Oops. There we go. So now that slot has enough room for that nut to go in smoothly and stay where it's supposed to be. Alright, so now I need to copy all of these things over to the other side, but I'm going to finish them fully first, I think. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the sketch here. And I'll add in, because we don't want the nuts or the screws sticking out, so I'll add in another circle there and a circle here. Make them the same size, and then that's going to be 11. So most, if not all, M5 screws that are either button heads or socket heads will go into an 11 millimeter hole. So I've always used that one measurement for all of this stuff. Never had any issues. And this build will use only socket head M5 bolts because they're slimmer than a button heads because they're slimmer than a socket head. And that needs 2.6 millimeters, so I'm adding 3. So now I have enough room. So if I hide my sketch, I have enough room here, and into the bottom of that is 17, which means I can easily use an M5 by 16 to attach the frame. And I'll do the same on this side, but I'll need to add in the space for the nut. And what I can actually do is I can do all of that without doing another sketch. So I'll do a mid plane, which is adding a plane between two flat surfaces. And then I can use that to mirror. So I'll mirror a feature. And I'll go here, change it to feature. Press this entire feature. The mirror plane is that new plane that I just made, and that adds my nut in right there. And that gives me 2 identical setups, even though the actual frame is not identical. And now I just need to do that again, but on. I could have just let me do this the right way. I'm gonna remove that plane and use that plane instead. There we go. So I can remove that, let's put in that, and then I can do a mirror again. So feature mirror, that feature, and that feature, and that feature. Let's see, what more do we need? We need the hole here. That one. Mirror plane would be that one. Now there's something that it doesn't like. What is that? Yeah, let's reapply features. For some reason it's not adding in this guy. Is it there but just not visible? No, it's not. It's not there at all. Let's try another one. There we go. So now I have frame clamps on the entire top frame. So if I go back into my frame assembly, this is where all of my different parts are. I can start adding in every component there is. So let's add in 4 nuts. Do I even have those? I don't. Okay, I need to make some square nuts. Yes. So let's go into hardware, PART Studio. And rename that to square nuts. Should be a pretty simple thing here. So on components like these, on a real square nut there's chamfered edges and some rounded corners and stuff, but on this I want to keep the features I want to keep the features as simple as possible, so not adding anything that doesn't need to be there. So these ones will be identical. That one is the M5 nut wide, and this one is a 5mm hole. And then I'll do an extrude on that sketch, do symmetric, and then add in my M5 nut thick. That is my nuts. So let's add in a color. That's my nuts. So if this is from scratch, what do you call it? A mod. So this is a mod on the legacy, to be fair, but I'm combining some stuff from the legacy and some stuff from the MK1 and also some stuff from the Rook 2020 to get all of this put together. So this is, it's not a evolution, it's a mod because I'm not the original designer of the Rook MK1 or the Rook Legacy for that matter. I did help evolve the Rook MK1, but this is my take. This is what I want to build. Because I still have a Rook Legacy at my workshop that has a serial That's looking a bit sad, and then it fell off my rack and broke the frame, so I might as well build something new out of it. Build area for this will be, so the print surface will be 120 by 120. If I get this right and my rough sketch is correct, I'll get about 130 by 130 total movement. My Y direction should be even more. It should be something like 160. That is just because of how the rails and all that stuff is set up. But I want to keep the belts as short as possible, but still have over travel on the bed, so I can add things like a wiper. I can add things like a auto Z offsets, all that stuff later down the road. But for right now, I want to keep this as simple as possible, but still give me over travel. I want the tool head to be able to go past the build plate. And Z, I'm hoping for 120. If I can get a 120 cubed, I would be golden. So that's the reason for the slightly bigger frame than normal. So it's just 20 millimeters, but that is a lot when we've been fighting half millimeters for a long time. So I'm just gonna save myself a little bit of time here, duplicate this, and make an M3 version. So I'll do M3 there. Oh, I forgot something in the previous one. So I'll do 3 there, and then I'll change this one to 3 nuts wide. And then my extrude will be changed to M3 nuts thick. I need to change it to M3 nut thick. There we go. Rename the actual part. And do I have an M5 by 16? Yes, I do. So let's go back to my frame here. So this is not a part studio, so if I can't make changes in here, but if I make changes in my part studio, they will be applied to my frame. So I just need to keep that in mind. If I change any of these holes, then I need to add adjustment for that in my assembly. So let's insert 4 square nuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I need 4 M5 by 16s. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So let's move these so that's easier to grab. And now let's do all of the fastening. So I can just put these in like that. So now I've added it into my thing. You can see it right there. And then I'll add a screw. So I'll grab that one and put it on here. Turn it around, of course. So that is how much that's going to stick out. So I could, if I want to, so that's 1 millimeter. I could add in like 0.8 of a millimeter wall right there, but that will look strange when you're printing. It'll look like a defect. And I think having the open hole just adds in the possibility to have something attached at some point. So let's keep it going. Keep adding this is a tight fit. That one. This is the one. Let's keep going. That is wrong hole. That is the very wrong. Here we go. And if someone wants me to adjust volume for the music, let me know. There we go. Alright. All those M5s are in. So now I need to copy that to the bottom frame. And also I need to put it on this fellow right here. So what I can do is pretty simple actually. I can edit the bottom frame while having the top frame available. And I'll add a sketch, and then I'll use these ones. Let's see. That one, that one, that one, that one. And those get applied to that hole, so that would solve all of this, all of these holes. Extrude that entire sketch, remove, we have the slots in. Now I want to add the rest of the features. So, how do I do that the simplest way possible? Actually, I'll go back to the assembly. I'll hide all of that. I'll edit that again. Then I'll add in a plane so that I can use that to copy. So mirror, plane, and features. I'll have to go in and just go in here and suppress those. It means that they're gone. Context, edit. Now they're gone. You can go to mirror that plane, features. Now, can I can't select. Well, that changes everything. I'll have to add them. That is okay. add in the holes for everything. To circle that to be 5. I'll have to double check that one. Add in these. So 17? No. 20 actually. The actual square nut holes is easier. Let's go back here. The context, in context. Sketch to the bottom. Let's use the project tool again. All I need to do is hit pause. So now I have the number for how far in those needs to go. I'll go back to my top frame limit. So I can see going here, that is my nut width, the tolerance, and 10. So I'll just do the same on the bottom frame. Extrude these guys by M5 nut wide plus tolerance 2, then plus 10 millimeters, and then of course I need to move. There we go. So now that is in, I need to add in the holes here. Switch to bottom frame. need to also copy the holes. There you go. Top and bottom frame clamps done. Let's quickly do this front brace. So point. That one's just 3. Then add in the holes. That is there. All right. Then I need those sockets, and now I need to do them from scratch again. So what I'll do is I'll go to my top frame, and then I'll figure out where did I start. I think this one was the first one. Yep. Let's open new tab. I'll put that on my side screen. And that'll give me now I have my I basically have this on my side monitor, so I can just use these numbers. Front brace, sketch. So I'll use that. rectangle. Shit. There we go. That one is nut thickness. So M5 nut thickness plus tolerance. And that one is M5 nut width plus tolerance. And I'll set it to be 2.5. There. Now the depth of these holes is nut width plus tolerance plus 10. So brackets M5 width plus tolerance and bracket plus 10 millimeters. And again, I didn't do remove. I should also add it to the other side. Here in that future. All right. Let's go to the frame, and it's already been updated. So I won't add in all of these now. It's just going to take forever. That's probably an off-screen thing, but I will add all the fasteners, all the nuts to the CAD, so that if anyone wants to build this at a later date, they can go in and poke around and see what is where. All right, for a drink. So what is next? I think adding in the top rails, and that is already done here. So I have multiple assemblies, and I've already done the rough sketch of the bed frame, mostly to get the bed in here for the thumbnail. But I've also done it so that if I want to, I can go back into the bed frame. Oh, where is it? It's in the z-axis bed frame. So this sketch is not fully defined because I can move the bed by simply moving that. So if I want the bed to be like all the way back here, I can go back to my main assembly. That should move the bed up. So at the point, when I get to the point where I have my hot end and tool head in, I can start looking at where to position this bed to maximize my available print area. So I guess the next thing to add is to start adding all the bearing locations. So I would start on the front idlers, I think. So for the front idlers, the main issue here is that the front idlers on the stock Rook, they need to be braced in the left, right, or the X direction. On this one it doesn't need to, because I'm going to use MK2 position, but I won't have adjustable idlers at the front. I'll be moving the motors in the back. I'll be moving the motor mounts, to be fair. So what I need is some bearing mounts here. So let me just double check my dimensions are correct. 20 to 20. That means I can start working on top gantry. So, new part. So, I need to always keep in mind that things might change down the line. So I'm planning ahead for that and making sure that all of my parts are modular in that sense, that I can just, if I see that, oh, I need to move this bearing out, in, up, left or right, I can do that by just changing a couple of things, or the less the better. So I'll add in, actually I'll do this, do that, and then I'll do a line between that and that, that and that. They are equal and they are 10. So I'm just making a copy of, basically, of the frame. So this is 8.2. I'm not sure of the location of that. Let's double check. Let's go to the frame. Distance between that and that, 10. Okay, just make sure 10. So that means everything is centered. What I can do now is I can go in to my assembly, now insert the part that I just made, so this one. And then I'll flip it. Now if I go back in and then go to edit in context, my part is laid on top of the old part. Now I can trim off. So this one has one fillet, which is frame fillet. The other one is smaller. That's fine. Yep. So that gives me a copy, basically, of a little plug that I can work on. So whatever I do needs to fit around this. Now I'll start a new sketch on this top face. And I'm already seeing a potential of me using this thing to attach the front idler. Not sure if that's ideal, but it can be done. But let's see how we can make this look. So I'm just thinking. That's my main thing right now. I'm just thinking about how to do everything. Because I need to think about print orientation, if I need supports or not. I preferably don't want supports. Also attachment and making room for everything. I think this needs to be out more. So let's see. I think this needs to be further out. Sketch fillet. No. 10. I think I need more, but actually no, I don't think I need more. But there needs to be more. That is probably the big thing. I need to have room for a screw and a nut. So let's just add in that as a sketch reference. Add in some. So this will be just a center line for me to work off of. And then I'll add in my nut. So this is the M5 nut thickness. This is the M5 nut width. Ideally, I want that to be 1.2. Okay, so that is where my nut can go. I don't need that nut. I'm completely delirious right now. Okay, so circular. No, I'm not fully remembering what I need to do. That is my nuts. So I can see now that I need to move that way further up. Let's do that. 6. Okay, so that's adding a hole. Just 5. So that will be my new idler location. So let's see if we can make this work. Let's find out. So on my other screen here, I have the Rook. Let's see. The Rook Legacy CAD file. There it is. Because I'm going for a similar design as this. So I might as well look at how things are positioned here, but also keep in mind where I need to make changes or where I want to make changes. Let's see. I don't have the location thing. Oh, there it is. There it is. Just wants to import. Hey Andy, thanks for the subscribe. All right. So on this Rook, the idler is offset from the rail, which it doesn't need to be in my version. I should have added enough clearance for the frame. I could always just make it a slight offset and then I can adjust it out. That might be just a good idea. But what I'm looking for here is I want to look at this distance. So right here it's 10 millimeters, and I know from experience that's a little bit short. If I make that 12, I'll gain a tiny bit of room on the gantry. So if I need to make this 12 taller than that. So that's 6.5. Okay, so that's correct. So this one is 16.6. If I round that up to 18, that's 1.4. That should be enough. That should be enough. Okay, so 18. From there to there is 18. Noted. So I just need to extrude this by 18, and that is the location for my idler. Now I want to go to this sketch And where is that number I'm looking for? It's down here. I'll do this. Slightly bigger. So now I need to make a little plinth for the bearing to sit on. That needs to be 10. So my plan is that on the inside here there's going to be a square nut, but that's for later. I'll deal with that at a later point. So I'm adding a 0.5 piece there to avoid using a washer. That also means that this one needs to be cut down by half a millimeter. So this is 17.5. Yep. And I do realize now that this needs to be way bigger, but I can play around with that in the assembly. So let's go to the assembly and insert front idler and fasten mate that one to that one. There we go. Insert a bearing, actually two bearings, and then I made a washer. No, I haven't made a washer. Okay. So those two. Let's make one piece of hardware real quick. Just a little shim. 1 millimeter shim. This is a 5 by 10 by 1, 5 by 1 by 10 shim. Let's make it pretty. So I can go back into my gantry. Actually, no. I'll go to my assembly. Fasten mates. This guy. Insert a shim. Fasten mates to that one, then fasten mate that one to that one. And that is the idler. So what I can also go and do is hide that piece. Now, just looking. So I want to have a top on this. I don't want it just sticking out this, like up like this. I want it to be supported at the top and the bottom. So that will be my next little challenge. And then do I leave it open in the front, or do I add a little bit more so I can add a front edge right here? So let's edit that in context. That makes some sense at least. Assembly. Yep. Something's not right. I think we have to go here. This guy. I'm gonna change that. Actually, no, I won't. Go in. I can delete that guy. Suppress those. New context. There we go. So let's sketch in of course I want the outside of this, but I want to add in that. So how much more room do I need? I guess I could just do that. That works. So now I can extrude that up to face that one. Actually, no. So I want to add let's do blind. How far is it from there to there? That's 11.5, so I need 12. That's simple. That one, 12. New sketch on top of that one again, and I'll add in all of that. this is the tall one. The other one is shorter, but I want to make them the same height just for aesthetics. This looks... It would look weird if this one is taller than this one. I'll add in a place for that there. Alright, so how long does this need to be? So from there to there, it's 14. Let's add in the nut. Okay, the nut is just a square. So I'll have to make those two equals, and then I'll add in 5 nut wide. Let's make it and 5 nut wide plus tolerance 2. Then make it so that it slots in by doing that. It's 5 nut thick plus tolerance again. Alright, so how long does the screw have to be to get all the way through that? That's 21.5, so what, M5 by 25 would fit perfectly in there. Alright, so now the other one will be mirrored from this, but also I need to move this entire thing down, which shouldn't be that big of a deal. So what I'll do is I'm just going to add a little plane to this, offset it by 50 millimeters. Actually, I'll go in the other direction. Makes more sense. And then I'll mirror this entire part. No, I won't. I'll duplicate it. I'll duplicate it, duplicate. So this is front idler left. And then this one is front idler right. Oops. Right. So the big thing now is that I can change the height of this idler by changing this extrude. So that means this other one needs, first of all, it needs to be mirrored, so that'll be my last. I'll keep designing it as a left, but I'll mirror it at the end. Just makes more sense. Alright, so to do that, I'll bring up the Rook again, and I'll look at this, and that's 10.1. So on this side, I took this one and then made that into 17.5. So I added 1 point. Oh, my head is not working. So 16.6, 17.5, that's 0.9 more. So this one is 16.6. Actually, no, it's not. It's not. Because this one has both bearings in them. Alright. So the other one needs to have the bearing. I can do this just by some math, actually. I can do this with math. So the bearing itself is 11 millimeters tall. So that means this one needs to be 12 millimeters lower. So this one needs to be 12 millimeters lower. So I'll just do that, 17.5 and then minus 12, just because I don't want to do math. Oops. And that means that this extrude, the top, I can add 12 to that. And then finally, I'll just mirror this part, and I'll just use this one. So this one I'll make sure that I don't use. So I'm just gonna keep it as is, but I'm renaming it to not use. And then this one is idler right. Right, so this one is renamed idler left. So I can go back to my frame here and I can add. So that one is in. Well, I should probably do something about this whole thing. Yeah. Let's fix that. That does not look good at all. So let's add some curves to this. You are perpendicular and you are perpendicular. Let's actually do it this another way. Let's just make that a 3 points. I don't like the look of that. I want spline. Look at the bezier just to make it better, I guess. Oh, that is pretty close to what I want. Okay, so I can lock in down at 13. That does look really nice. Let's cut that off. So remove and through all. Ta-da! Alright. Let's insert the other one. Spider right. Not use spider right. There we go. Now let's attach it. Here and editing contacts, and that lets me use this. So I'll do a sketch there, use that right there, and then move through all. So that is our front, almost done. I just see that I need to fix that hole. So let's go to this front idler. Oh yeah, I need to move this guy down. So let's move to before the mirror. So that's confusing. This one. It's this plane. I can do. What is this? The previous value of that. 8 from there. So if I now do there and then 8 down instead. Hold on. Am I just confusing myself right now? Yeah, I'm probably just doing something. No? Oh, I've just put it in. I put it in the wrong way. That's it. I'll go back to my assembly and then I'll put it in the right way this time. Here we go. That's better. Now it's the wrong way around. Alright, right way around. And I'll see that I have to make a tiny bit of a clearance right there. So that probably applies to that one as well. Yeah, I'll make a tiny little pocket in there. No big deal. I'll do that later when I start looking at clearance and pretty steps. I'm wondering, should I make this so that this overlaps that? So this kind of just slots in and then you bolt it through. Because I was just going to do one bolt through all of this, but if I add a little lip to the bottom, let me first get the context and then edit in context. That looks funny. Go. Should I just do, let's see. Do like 4 millimeters there. Leopard V5, I haven't looked into Leopard, so so by gantry style you mean having the V0 top frame adding on? No, this this won't have anything more than the absolute minimum that it needs to have. Yeah. So I'll add a sketch here. Yeah, I'll do that for both. Yeah, so this won't have any extra frame added. This will just be, it'll look very similar to a normal Rook. Maybe a bit chunkier because it's wider in all directions. But let's see. And because that will now have issues, of course. Extruded that. So I can swap this mate out for that instead, so it stays in the same place so it won't be broken. Just make sure to update. Yeah, that context is broken, so that's okay. I'll probably do something about this. I don't like how that looks, but that is for a later problem for me to fix. So let's have a little look at my plans in total. So big picture plans. As I mentioned in the start, the frame is bigger. So instead of 165 here, it's 180. So that should add more room on the X. And then I'll be doing a 200mm X rail instead of a 150. Because I can now fit that between here, and I'll have to do some trickery. I am also willing to make a custom rail for this, just to make it how I want it to be. But this is a good start. I might slim down the exterior part of these, and also need to make a spot for them to be attached. Looks like I'll have to make them a tiny bit longer to fit a bolt through this. But that is looking good. So the plan for tensioning the belts is to do it on the motors themselves. So this will have a Mark II, Rook Mark II belt pad with belt in the back, and I want to add a tensioner on the motors similar to what Rook Mark I, the 2020 Mark I. They both have the same thing, where you push the motor in a direction to tension the belts, but I want to integrate it into the actual motor mount. So you push the whole motor mount with a single bolt. So hydrate. So what I guess I need to do is start working on those motor mounts. Figure out where to put the bearings and the actual motors. Because if I look at it from the top here, the motor will be in here, not out here like the normal Rook does it. So it's going to be pretty much a Voron V0 style belt path, where you tension the actual motors themselves. And then the Z-axis will be a lead screw Z, just because it fully eliminates any clearance for the tool head at the top. Nothing's going to be in the way. And I'm still not sure if this will be a removable piece or not, because it's a 236mm part in total, which is doable, but you could change this into a belted Z without changing the frame. So that might be an appeal for some people. Maybe we should put in the Z motor and lead screw just to see how it looks. Let's do that. Let's go to find a motor. There's a motor. And then a lead screw. There we go. And the lead screw coupler. There we go. go. Now this motor is a 48mm motor. I'm never going to use that. I'll probably use a pancake. But for simplicity of the CAD, I'm just putting in the single one, the big one. Now to position the motors, I'll have to make some simple motor plates and all that stuff. I'll have to think about that until the next stream, which will be later this week. That is all I know right now. So if you have any questions, hit me up on the Roll-On Discord in the Rook channel, or leave a comment on this live stream. I'll reply to that. And yeah, that's it for today. I hope you learned something. Maybe I can do better. Let me know. And I'll see you. Not sometime. I'll see you sometime. That's pretty much it. So